Good afternoon, children. Good afternoon, children. I hope so everyone is enjoying the summer vacation. And today we are going to discuss the next part after the plant nutrition. The last class we discussed about plant part 1. Now we are going to discuss about plant part 2. The session 2 we are going to discuss. Before going to that topic, I want to make a something what connecting questions. For example, have you ever walked in a grass at the time of winter? Hope so. Most of the peoples walked in a winter season upon a grass. You might have been noticed somewhat droplets present on the leaves of the plant. Have you ever seen? Hope so. Most of the peoples have seen that. Why that droplets were being produced by the plant? Do you know why? Yes. Today we are going to discuss that topic. And again, one more question is, all plants synthesize their food material on their own self? Is it correct? Is it correct? Place your question on your own. Most of the plants, they will synthesize the food material on their own, but few are not there. That is also we are going to discuss today. The last question is about, do plants have an excretory system? Can we guess? Do plants have excretory system? Yes, they do have excretory system even. Today we are going to discuss about the plants nutrition and other than autotrophic activity of the plants, as well as transpiration, which we can call it as a excretory part, and even secondary metabolites of the plants. Today as our topic is, 3 topics are there as per the part of the plant part 2. Okay guys, directly going to the topic, that is first one is nutrition in plant, extended topic. The mode of the nutrition in plants, most of them are autotrophic. In last class we discussed about the autotrophic plants and their food material synthesized by the process we are calling it as a what? Photosynthesis. We know about the photosynthesis process. Hope so everyone already we discussed about it. What is a photosynthesis? Already we discussed the reaction 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives rise to C6H12O6. Is it correct? Plus how many oxygens were released? 6 moles of oxygen plus 6H2O. Even water molecules also getting released. Here that extension of the reaction is, oxygen is a gaseous state. Obviously we have to give a arrow mark. In this case, the photosynthesis is utilizing of carbon dioxide and utilizing of H2O and making of carbohydrates and producing of oxygen, even water molecule. Under the presence of what? Under the presence of sunlight as well as chlorophyll present in a plant. Chlorophyll present in a plant. We have to know these concepts even. And last class we discussed about this reaction, and even we have to know what the chlorophyll nature is. Do you know formula for the chlorophyll? Right. C55 H72 O5 N4 Mg. Guys, I will place a logical question here. Right. In this case, C55 is there, H72 is there, O5 is there, N4 is there, and Mg is there. In this case, Mg is a metallic compound. Remember that? Because of this magnesium ion which is present over there, which will give the green color to the plant. That is nothing but reflection of light of the green color due to the presence of the magnesium which is present in the chlorophyll. Remember that a chlorophyll is in green color because of the presence of magnesium. That already we know about this reaction. And we know about the light reaction as well as dark reaction. I told already scientist involved in a light reaction. His name is Robert Hill. And dark reaction, who proposed the C3 cycle? Alvin Calvin. His name is Kelvin cycle. Right? Remember this, these are all we all discussed in a previous session. Hopefully that reaction is very important. That is why I revised once again. In this case, guys, here the plants are synthesizing their own food material by utilizing of sunlight as well as chlorophyll and making of their food material itself. But 99% mode of the food production is involved with this photosynthesis. But few of the plants not only depends upon the photosynthetic action, they will also act as a heterotrophic nature. Remember that the plant nutrition is majorly two types. If you observe the slide carefully, look at that. The plant nutrition is majorly two types. One is autotrophic and second one is heterotrophic type of nutrition. Autotrophic is nothing but what? It is directly plant itself synthesizing their food material. What I shown in that reaction, that represents the four plants are autotrophic nature. But 99% these are involved with the autotrophic action only. There is not at all any drastic issues over there. But here few of the plants, they will involve with a heterotrophic nutrition even. Like for example, if you look at the slide carefully, the heterotrophic type of nutrition, lot types are there. But in a school level, we have a 4 types of heterotrophic type of nutritions are there. In that, the first one, remember that symbiosis, parasitic interactions and insectivorous as well as saprophytes. These 4 are major types of the heterotrophic type of nutritions are there. Guys, look at here carefully. The plant nutrition is majorly 2 types are there. One we are calling it as a autotrophic and second one we are calling it as a heterotrophic. There is a two kinds of nutritional patterns are there in a plants. In the case of autotrophic, already I discussed the name of it. We are calling it as a through process of photosynthesis will be takes place by the plants, that we are calling it as a photosynthesis. There is no involvement of second organism which can help to the particular organism to the plant, but there is no involvement directly plant, it is synthesizing their food material. No problem in this, already last part we discussed about it. But heterotrophic type of nutrition majorly lot types are there in school level, but here we will discuss few of them which is very important. First one is, remember that, parasitic, and second one is symbiotic, and the third one is insectivorous. Remember that, insectivore as well as the last one is saprophyte. Here there is a 4 type of heterotrophic nutritions are there. In this case, guys, before going to this, we have to know a simplified concept, how to understand this concept. Like for example, if there is a organism is there, consider that A organism as well as B is an organism, A is an organism. There is a 2 organisms are there. If A is helping to B and B also helping to A, that means whichever is there, A is here which is helping to B and B even simultaneously helping to the A. That means this totally interacted mutually. This interaction we are calling it as a symbiont. Remember that a symbiotic interaction is, we can easily define that organism one organism A, second organism B, which is interacted helping together with a plus interaction, that we can call plus interaction is equal to symbiont. Remember that symbiont is a symbiotic interaction is nothing but a plus interaction between the two organisms. For example, if you go with an example like, especially look at here, plus interaction, we are calling it as a symbiont, and one more interaction, if you see the parasitic, in this case one organism is plus and second one is minus, in that case we can call it as a parasitic interaction. Remember, this concept is little, you may get confused with this concept, but hopefully you have to understand very clearly here, right? A organism is there, B organism is there. If A is helping to B, B is helping to A, together plus and plus interaction, symbiotic interaction. In this interaction, two organisms are beneficial, but in second consideration, one organism is beneficial and second one is harmful. Then in that state, what will happen? This interaction, we are calling it as a parasitic interaction. Remember that. I'll tell you the examples of these two, because if you understand these correlated topics in mathematically, what you will say plus into plus, that it's not like that. Here it is interaction, it resembles the only interaction. In this case, what I am telling you here, the plus is symbiont and plus minus is parasitic, one is beneficial, one is harmful. Totally, the both are beneficial, then we have to call it as symbiont. I'll tell you the example for the first interaction, that is parasitic interaction. Look at, observe it very carefully. I found it here nearby only. The plant is itself, we are calling it as a Cuscuta. Remember the name of the plant? The name of the plant is Cuscuta. Cuscuta is an example of parasitic plant. Look at the particular stem and roots of the, we are unable to see the particular roots over there, but stem is little bit, roots and stems are modified as a parasitic in nature. Especially if you see the parasitic roots, which we can call it as a Haustorian type of rotated system. In this case, example here, you can see this. It is circularly it is bounded to that particular plant. In this case, the Cuscuta, which will depends upon the particular plant, where it can grab the nutrients from the elongated stem. It is another plant. Most of them, those are the dicot plants only involves with this Cuscuta parasitic interactions. But in this case, this is what the Cuscuta, in generally, we can see in villages, we can see lot of this Cuscuta species, right? Hopefully you might have been understanding this. This is a parasitic in nature which grabs the nutrients from the one plant. It means what? A Cuscuta is a plus. That means what? It is grabbing the nutrients from the plant. Obviously it is a plus. It is gaining the nutrients, obviously plus, and the whichever the long plant is there, which is losing the nutrients towards of the Cuscuta, then this is a minus interaction. Plus and minus itself, it is indicates the parasitic interaction. Hopefully you are being understood with this, right? Look at carefully, Cuscuta plant is an example of parasitic interaction, right? Hopefully Cuscuta is a, resemble that, it is a parasitic interaction, we can call it as a Cuscuta. Cuscuta is a parasitic plant, right? And in this case, second case, I want to tell you, in this case, the both are plus and plus. It means what? The both, which is A is beneficial, that means a plant is beneficial as well as another B organism also helpful. This is what we can call it as a symbiont. This we can say best example, we can find that lichens. Lichens are the best example for the symbiotic interaction. Remember that lichens are the best example for the symbiotic interaction. How can you define the lichens? Lichens is not a term, what we can say, it is not a separate term. A lichens are nothing but it is a interaction between the algae, interaction between the alga as well as fungi, the interaction between the alga and fungi, which is known as a lichen. Generally, US English, it is a pronunciation is completely different, and Britain English also pronunciation is completely different. Here, look at here, we can call lichens as well as lichens. If you find in a dictionary, it is not a problem. We can call it as a lichens as well as lichens. It doesn't make any difference, right? Look at here, algae as well as fungi. Algae as well as fungi, the both we are calling it as a interaction between these two, or we are calling it as a lichens. If you see in a slide, obviously you will find that particular lichens. Look at there in a slide 3, you can find that on the top of the plant lichens were grown. Example for the symbiotic interaction, those which is useful even to making of biryani. Have you ever ate Hyderabadi dum biryani? There you will get a nice flavor in that particular biryani due to adding of these lichens. But most of the there is a separate groups of the lichens are there, but not all the lichens are used for the making of biryani. Little there is in that. Even we will do the pH test. Do you know that pH, right? pH, alkaline, acidic. In chemistry we will find, right? We can call alkaline as well as acidic. These are the different kinds of pH. We can call it even neutral. How can you say alkaline is nothing but greater than? Alkaline is, we can say greater than 7, and acidic we can say less than 7 pH, and neutral it has to equal to 7. If it is equal to 7, then we have to call it as a neutral. If it is less than 7, we have to call it as a acidic. If it is greater than 7, we have to call it as a basic or alkaline. If you interestedly see this, the mathematical what we can say expressions also came here. Greater than symbol and less than symbol, even we can learn these also. Look at here carefully. Why I am telling this pH is nothing but here the lichens also useful for the making of blotting papers, even litmus papers preparation also. This we can use the particular lichens. Litmus paper preparation, in that lichens are very useful. Remember that testing of the saltiness of the water by using of pH, that litmus paper that will be prepared by the lichens. Hopefully you might have been understanding the lichens. Do you know where these lichens grow? Do you think? Right. Hope so. Most of the people seeing in that particular slide, the third expression, the lichens which are over there, those are present on the top of the stem. Look at carefully, lichens are present on the top of the stem of other plant. It is nothing but it is epiphytic in nature. Epiphytic is nothing but what? Here the epi is nothing but top, phytic is nothing but plant. On the top of the plant they will grow, epiphytic in nature even. And even though those of the lichens which is also grown on the top of the rocks, even top of the stones also they will grow, and these are called even lithotropous. Lithotropous is also one of the example of the lichens where they are growing. Hope so, peoples, you might have been understanding this concept very well. Remember that where the lichens are growing, lichens are nothing but, first of all you have to know the definition of the lichens. Lichens is nothing but here the algae and fungal interaction together and mutually interacted together, and that's what we are calling it as a lichens. We can call it as a lichens. And lichens are epiphytic in nature, as well as lichens are lithotropic in nature, because lithos means rock. Lithos means rocks or stones, stony material we can call. Lithotropous we can call. Tropous is nothing but nutrition. In generally social studies we will find lithosphere. might have been, you remember, lithosphere. Lithosphere is nothing but what? Which is a earth covering layer covered with rocks and stones, that we are calling it as a lithosphere. Remember that these concepts are very important, right? Anyways, we read here with two interactions. One is parasitic interaction, second one is symbiotic interaction. The symbiotic interaction, not only the lichens are the example, few of other examples also there. In last session of part 1, we discussed about the symbiotic interaction of root nodules. I shown that picture even. The root nodules are what? If you see the particular leguminous plant, leguminous plants are nothing but here the pulses. Pulses are the leguminous plants. Pulses are the leguminous plants which they had at the root state, they had at the point of the root system, they had what we can say nodules are present at the top of the roots, and these nodules are formed because of the rhizobium bacteria. Rhizobium bacteria, which is very important, useful for the making of root nodules in the plants, legume plants making the root nodules here. That interaction we are calling it as a symbiotic interaction. The symbiotic interaction, how we can make sure that how the rhizobium helpful for the legume plant? It is giving the nitrogen resource to plant. And how the plant is giving, that is, it is giving the nitrogen, it means it is helping the plant. How the plant is helping to the rhizobium? It is created the anoxygenic condition, that is nothing but absence of oxygen. There is no oxygen is present, then obviously this interaction, the both are helping together, and this interaction we are calling it as a symbiotic interaction. Remember that, guys, the symbiotic interaction and parasitic interaction. Cuscuta is an example for the parasitic interaction, and symbiotic interaction, it is an example we can call lichens, as well as here the leguminous plants are the example for the symbiotic interaction. Not only that, few of them, this is a heterotrophic type of nutrition is going on, because the plant itself not synthesizing their food material, it is depending on others. Somehow others, what we can say, somehow it is depending, then fully not it is an heterotroph, but somehow it is depending on other organisms, then we can call it as a heterotrophic type of nutrition. In this case, and the third one we have to discuss about the insectivorous plant. Insectivorous plant. In this case of the insectivorous plants, look at carefully the insectivorous plants, which is in a slide. Hope so everyone seeing it. And the leaves of the insectivorous plant is looking like a green in color. They can, you can make a question over there. If a plants are green color, why should they are adapted to eating of insects? Is there any logical issue over there? Because they had a green colored leaves are present. If it is a green color leaves are there, then why they are making into heterotrophic type of nutrition? Is there any necessity of the plants? Okay, hope so you are thinking well, and that is because of the, if soil is very less amount of nitrogen, if there is a nitrogen source is very less, in that state what will happen to the plant? The plant unable to grab the nitrogen from the soil, then how come it grow faster, and how it is synthesizes the protein, how it will make the amino acids, that are not possible. So here the nitrogen is necessary for the plant growth, then the plant require the nitrogen. If the soil is not consisting of nitrogen, then what will happen? It has to get the nitrogen from somewhere. Then the plant started the adaptation to give some cone shaped leaves are present, especially in Nepenthes. If you see that particular plant in a slide, hope so you are been understanding that the slide which is represent the first one, the Nepenthes. Nepenthes is like a cone shape. Are you okay with that cone shape? Nepenthes, it is also known as pitcher plant. If you closely observe that pitcher plant, there is a cone shaped leaves are there, consider that, remember that it is the edge of the leaf only modified into cone shape. It means leaf only participating in particular food making and food grabbing system. There the insects will trap on that particular leaf and the plant will eat the particular insects for the nitrogen resources. Not only that, the second example is Drosera. Drosera, you look at that, a second example, Drosera, it is known as sundew, and even that is also considered as an insectivorous. Look at the beautiful nature of that particular plant, which will attract the insects very easily, and the gel shape will be produced by that particular plant. Even the insects are more attracted towards of the plant and they will get trapped by that particular leaf. Hope so you might have been imagined that how the leaves are getting trapped. If you are been watched that Avatar movie, like how it is resembles the same. And even a third example, Utricularia. It's a Utricularia plant, you can see in the third picture. In that it is also a insectivorous plant. Even last one is Dionaea. Look at the spelling carefully, Dionaea, Dionaea. It's a Venus flytrap actually. It is seems to be like very attractive. The insects will get, even you can see that yellow colored and pink colored shape of the leaves are present. The insects were trapped over there. I think, hope so. The bee which is being trapped there, and that will be what we can say digested by the plant. Those are the insectivorous plants. Remember that the where the nitrogen is absent, there only the plants will becomes adapted towards to making of the nitrogen resources grabbing. The plants is turning into insectivorous nature. If it is not been adapted to like that, they won't survive at all. The Darwin's theory is that only, that Darwin's natural selection. Right, anyways, this is how the insectivorous plants are being there. Right, you all already been see the 4 examples, that is Nepenthes, Utricularia, Drosera as well as Dionaea. These 4 are the best example for the insectivorous plants. Not only that, and the last one is their saprophytes. If you see the saprophytes on a slide, mushrooms are the best example for the saprophytic activity. Saprophyte is nothing but, here we can directly say death material, decaying material, that will be act as a nutritional source for the saprophytes, especially fungi as well as few of the bacterias, not most of them, few of the bacterias will participate in the making of saprophytic activity. Saprophyte is nothing but depends upon the death decaying material. It means, for example, if a buffalo got died, then what will happen? It will be turned into a soil later 6 months 8 months after that. What will happen? It turns into the soil, it is merges into the soil. Then how come the animal material, how come the plant material is being dragged into the soil and it is being used for the making of the soil? It is very wonderful issue that is made by the saprophytic activity. Can you imagine if there is no saprophytes are present in the world, then what would have been happen? If there is no saprophytes are there, then what will happen to the earth? The total earth will become a barren land. That is nothing but it is totally filled with the dead bodies of the animals, dead bodies of the plant. No one is decaying that, decomposing that material, then it is not imaginable. We cannot imagine that situation, right? It is very, very, very important role that is playing by the saprophytes. Remember that saprophytes, it's directly it is saying that sapros is nothing but death, phytic is nothing but plante. It's plant, it is growing on dead bodies, that we are calling it as a saprophyte. Hope so you are being understanded the heterotrophic type of nutrition. I think guys, it is very, very, very important. Heterotrophic, I am revising you again. Hope so if you are been watching the slide, plant nutrition majorly 2 types are there. One is autotrophic and second one is heterotrophics are there. And autotrophic type, most of the plants, they will synthesize the food material on their own self, then we are calling it as a autotrophic. And the second type is heterotrophic type of nutrition, parasitic, Cuscuta, already we watched that plant, and even symbiont, legume root nodules and lichens are the best example. Insectivorous, they are Nepenthes, Drosera, Utricularia, Dionia, those are the four are the examples are there. And saprophyte, saprous means death, and phyta means plant, saprophytic means dead body, on that the plant will grow, that we are calling it as a saprophytic activity. Hope so you are been understood with the plant nutrition and their types, right? And the next one is transpiration in plants. Transpiration in plants. Look at, observe that slide very carefully. We are going to the topic. Already I used to ask the question at the early starting of the class. I placed in a question. Do you remember that? The question is, if you are been walking on a grass, on the top of the grass, hope so, you been walking on a top of the grass at the time of winter, you will find small water droplets on the surface of the grass. You are being touched with that, with your legs, even your foot even sometimes will become wet. Why? Because of these droplets. Do you know why this been happen? Because of the transpiration in plants. Do you know 90, almost 80 to 90% of the water which is grabbed by the plant, that will be get evaporated out from the plant, that we are calling it as a transpiration. Transpiration is nothing but, here the a beautiful definition is there. If you go with a leaf, right, look at that, if you go with a leaf, what is that? A leaf, most of the plant part, that is leaf, is participating in transpiration action. In this case, what is a transpiration? What I said, the evaporation of water from the plants. That means here the water is getting evaporated, then we are calling it as a, this process we are calling it as a transpiration. Transpiration is nothing but evaporation of water from the plant, that we are calling it as a transpiration. Hope so you have been understanding the definition of the transpiration. Then how the transpiration will take place and when it is going to be happen, and what are the factors which is affects the transpiration rate. In this case, first of all, we know that a transpiration is nothing but evaporation of water. In that, which cells are participating over there? The guard cells. Very important one. The guard cell we are calling it as a protecting cells. So guard cell protects from the transpiration rate. Guard cells, this we are calling it as a guard cells. The guard cells are useful for making of stomata. The pore which is made by the guard cell, we are calling it as a stomata. The total structure of stomata includes guard cells and little pore is present, this pore which is useful for the transpiration. The guard cells are present, and even this is the stomatal pore. In this case, the guard cells, sometimes they will get swell and sometimes they will get thin. At the time of thin in nature, then automatically the stomata will get open, the transpiration rate will be very high. What is the major use of this transpiration? The excess amount of water whichever present in the plant, that will be get evaporated. For example, plant want more nutrition, then what will happen? It will grab more and more amount of water. In that nutrients elements are present. Obviously, it want to grab more amount of nutrients. In that case, the nutrients as well as water also will get come. Obviously, it want to throw that water, if whichever the excess amount of water is there, it want to throw that water. Obviously, the process which is involved in that making of evaporation of the water, that majorly we are calling it as a transpiration. When this process is more and more, it's nothing but very high at the condition of, in the case of the temperature has to be what? It should be, temperature should be very high. In that case only, if the temperature is high, then the transpiration rate will be very, very, very high, losing of water. And even in the case of the hydrophytic plants are nothing but, here the hydrophytic is nothing but the plant which will grow in the water. The plants which will grow in the water, those we are calling it as a hydrophytic plants. There is a lot amount of the water is present. Then the stomatal count also, hydrophytic plants stomatal count is also very high. Obviously, the transpiration is also high. But in the case of the xerophyte, in the first case, hydra means water, hydra means water, phyta means plant. Xerus, in last session I used to say xerus means dry and phyta means plant. Dry place presenting plant. In this case, what will happen? Here the transpiration rate is very low because there is no availability of water, because dry nature is present. Here these are the factors which is making involvement of the transpiration rate. Remember that it is very, very, very important. And after this, of the transpiration, we have to know two essential concepts where students will get more and more get confused, right? Please be focused for few minutes. If you understand the concept well, then we can grab lot of examples surrounded by us. I will tell you, before going to the topic, I will tell you very daily issues, how we are being associated with that two issues. One issue is diffusion. One is diffusion. Hope so you are finding on the slide. Diffusion. Look at the slide carefully. Diffusion. And next one is osmosis. These two concepts and difference between that, you can note down that even as a definition over there. Diffusion is there and osmosis is there. Guys, please be focused. Look at the board carefully. For example, here one side and the second side. Side A and this is side B. Consider that as side A and side B. In this case, the red dots are more in A side than comparing with the B side. Are you able to see these red dots? Red dots are more in the A side compared to the B side. Obviously, what will happen? High concentration at A side, low concentration at B side. The molecules, whichever it might be, the A side is high concentrated and the B side is few are there which is very low, the low concentration is there. If the molecules are travelling high concentration to low concentration, the concept is known as diffusion. Diffusion is a definition which is involves the concentrated molecules, whichever high concentrated molecules are there, that wants to move to the wards of the low concentrated side. This the part exactly we can call it as a diffusion. For example, if you place a perfume on your shirt or your pint, or you have sprayed a perfume, something what perfume you sprayed, then obviously the people who are surrounded you, they also sense that particular perfume. How? Because of the diffusion. Diffusion is it's a concept that involves with high concentrated area is where you are placed that perfume, where you are sucked that perfume, that place, and where it is moving, wherever the low concentrated areas which is surrounds you, that is nothing but diffusion is nothing but where the high concentrated to low concentration. Not only that, you are smelling the what we can say a biryani smell, you can otherwise a flower giving a beautiful smell, or anything like making of some domestic whichever the curries, or we can say something what whichever the smell which is giving by the plants or materials, that you can sensitize that concept is called diffusion. Diffusion, the definition is high concentration to low concentration. The molecules, solute molecules are moving high concentration to low concentration. This is called a diffusion. But here the efficient concept, that will not, this whichever the diffusion is there, it will not be suitable for the osmosis. Osmosis is completely different. Remember that. Before going to the osmosis, I want to tell you one interesting concept to you. One interesting concept is there about the osmosis, right? What is the osmosis? You cannot learn the osmosis directly. There we have to focus at the particular area where we have to know water potential. Water potential. Water potential, we have to know the concept of water potential. What is the water potential? Here the water potential is a pure water. Do you know H2O is a pure water? Otherwise you can take distilled water. Distilled water is very pure indeed. It is having a highest water potential. Observe this point very carefully. What I said here is water potential, I am discussing the concept. Which one is having a highest water potential? Distilled water. Distilled water is a pure water which is consisting of only H2O, then we are calling it as it is a highest water potential. If you add NaCl to it, NaCl is nothing but, you know, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride, it is nothing but salt which is present available in our kitchen. We can find in domestic use also the salt. If you add a salt to it, that means pure water turned into concentrated of salt, then obviously what will happen to the particular water potential? It will get reduced. If you add NaCl, if you add sugars, if you add anything dissolves in water, that will make the water potential to get less. Hope so. If you understand this concept, then only you understand the concept of the osmosis. Look at carefully what I am saying. The water potential is high for only pure water. Pure water water potential is very high, but if you add any substances such as sodium chloride or sugars or any other substances which is dissolves in water, that will reduces the water potential rate. And here now we are moving to the definition of the osmosis. Hope so. Osmosis is a concept which is involves in a where high water potential to low water potential. The movement of water from high water potential to low water potential. Remember that there is a movement from high water potential HWP, high water potential to low water potential. This we are calling it as a osmosis. For example, guys, if I take a jar, I placed a totally distilled water. Consider that it is A. And even I placed a RBC on it. This is RBC. This is totally the surrounding of it is distilled water, that means high water potential. The RBC have what? Here it is high water potential, somewhat proteins are present, somewhat sugars are present, somewhat other materials are present in the RBC. Obviously it is low water potential. Then where the water has to move? High water potential to low water potential. Then what will happen to RBC size? It will get increases continuously. Then after the increasing of maximal level, the cell will get burst and it will get die. Hopefully I am revising you again. My concept is high water, how the water is moving, the osmosis is nothing but it is a concept where the high water potential to low water potential. Water is moving from the high water potential to low water potential. In that case, distilled water is a high water potential, RBC is a low water potential. Obviously, water is nothing but whichever high water potential molecules are there directly moving to the low water potential. Obviously, the cells will get swollen, then it is turns into what we can say death of the RBC. This process where it is moving inside of that we are calling it as a, remember that, endoosmosis. Endoosmosis is nothing but it is a grabbing of the what we can say a water into the cell, then it is called endosmosis. And what happen if you are been placing the same situation, for example, here I added the sucrose solution. I took a sucrose solution which is very high concentrated, and automatically if it is high concentrated means low water potential. Obviously, if more salt concentration is there, obviously low water potential. What will happen if I place the same RBC at here, then the RBC, whichever the RBC is there, that will lose the water from, because it is having a high water potential comparing to the sucrose solution. High water potential is present, obviously it is grabbing it on this. Obviously, this is turn into the state where we can say the cell will turns into rigid, not rigid, it is like a it will get clumsy in nature, then obviously it will get die, right. This is the plasmolysis process where it will takes, right. Remember that carefully, that concept even, right. This is what isotonic solution, that is nothing but where the, if you look at the slide perfectly, if you look at the slide on the particular system, in that case isotonic solution, the first one, there is no variation in that particular RBC, but if you place that hypotonic solution, then obviously cell will get swollen, and hypertonic where high concentration less water potential, then it will becomes into what we can shrunken. Shrunken is nothing but which is constricted in nature, the cell even it will die. For example, if you eat any spicy material like chips, otherwise kurkures, like something what whichever material with a spicy and saltiness, you will feel like thirsty. Why we are feeling like thirsty? Because the cells will get shrunken, right. Obviously, that is what the major concept, right. And root pressure concept and transpiration rates, if you before going to that, we will have a small experiment related to the transpiration rate. In this case, the transpiration rate example, how will you can find the plants consisting of transpiration. Hope so, this is a plant where I took from that, and before 4 hours you can see that small water droplets are present in that. Hope so, everyone is seeing that a little water drops are present, because I placed 5 hours in a hot at outside. Obviously, the transpiration rate is little high. Hope so, we are seeing the little water droplets. If you close that transparent what we can say covers on the top of the leaves, we can find the transpiration of the plant, right. This is the transpiration rate experiment. Hope so, everyone is understanding that. And the thing is root pressure concept. For example, you can observe that particular slide where the water is present at the downstream of the plant, and that will be going to upwards because of the process we are calling it as a roots absorbing by the osmosis process, and the water is going to upwards because of there is a majorly 2 tissues are there. One is xylem, second one is phloem. Observe carefully xylem and phloem concepts. In this case, both are vascular bundles. Vascular bundles. If you observe very closely that particular xylem and phloems, whichever act as a, if you see first of all xylem, as well as we have a second concept, that is phloem. Xylem consisting of majorly 4 kinds of components are present in that particular cell. First one we are calling it as a tracheids. Second one we are calling it as a vessels. And third one xylem parenchyma. And last one is xylem fibers. These 4 are the major components which is present in the xylem. In this case, the xylem, if you see the first whichever the tracheids are there, these tracheids are non-living in nature. Even vessels also non-living, remember that, and parenchymal only the living cells which is present in the xylem, but xylem fibers also are non-living. And remember that everything is thick in nature. Thick is nothing but very thick. Why they are thick? Everything here we are finding that everything is thick in nature. Why these are thick in nature? Because those are lignified. A lignin is a substance which is present over here in this substituent, then obviously, but here the lignin is present even parenchymal cells, but it is not that much thick, it is little thinner in nature. And fibrous even lignified. Remember that. And what is the major function of this is tracheids are making what, which is useful for the transportation of water as well as minerals, and vessels even connection which will acting as a connectors, and xylem parenchyma which will act as a storage material, and xylem fiber which is useful for the mechanical support. Hope so you are been understanding the particular concept of the xylem. Make a rough shoot on this: tracheids, vessels, xylem, parenchyma, xylem fibers. If you make a screenshot of this, you can understand very easily. If you observe the second nature, if you have been seen that a particular phloem, you will find the sieve tubes. Sieves are present, sieve tubes are present, and even there is a companion cells are present, and even parenchyma cells are present, and last one is fiber cells are present. In this case, look at here, the sieve tubes attaches to the companion cell, and companion cells attaches to the parenchyma, and parenchyma is lastly covered with the fibrocytes, that is nothing but fiber cells which will give the mechanical support to the particular phloem. Mechanical support to the phloem. In this case, what it is going to be happen, here it is a one by one cell, wherever the parenchymal cells getting synthesizing the food material, whichever came by the chloroplast, that will be trapped by the companion cells, and companion cells receives the food material to sieve tubes. Obviously, it is being transported throughout of the plant body. And even the last one, excretion of the plant system. Hope so you are seeing the Papaver somniferous. Papaver somniferous, which is what we can say morphines are there, which is act as a painkiller, and Rauwolfia serpentina, excretory material synthesized by the plants, that is alkaloid. Rauwolfia serpentina, which is reserpine, used for the blood pressure controlling. Caffeia arabica, that is nothing but caffeine. Daily we are drinking the tea, obviously that we will grab the particular system caffeine, that it will increases our central nervous system. Tobacco, Nicotiana tobaccum, which is also activate our neurological system. Datura, tropina is a where the material alkaloid which is present in datura. Hope so, that is useful for the poisonous material, actually datura. If you look at the tannins, tanning is nothing but making of brown color. For example, belts are there, making our belts where we are wearing in at wrist, and even leather industries we will use the tannins. Cassia, acacia, that is Tangedu and Tumma, that we will use in the making of tan resins. Do you know the paintings whichever we are using in daily life, the paintings which is what gymnosperms gives that resins. Obviously in varnishes we will use that turpentine oil like that we are using. And the gums, hope so everyone used that gums like in Tumma, like acacia we will find. Even neem plant also produces the gums that is oozing out of it. And latex, do you know, for example, if you see this last one, I want to show that latex particularly in this stem. If I'll cut this particular stem, there you will see white color a substance is producing by that particular stem. It's a latex like substance, even that is also present in the plant. Hope so. It is a rubber like a Hevea and Braziliensis and Jatropha. These are the plants which will produce as the latex. Latex is useful for the daily life in rubber industries and all, right. And lastly, I want to tell you that project work, prepare a report on various commercial uses of different plant products, like whichever you are surrounded being, it's not go far away from you, and just observe the plant, how it is useful. Just prepare a report on various commercial uses of different plant products with the help of newspapers or old magazines or surrounding like whichever is useful to you. And second one is insectivorous plant can be considered as a carnivorous. Do you agree with this? Hope so. Insectivorous or carnivorous or not, that your opinion has to give over there and give reasons for that, why it is carnivorous and how it is been, because you already been noted that all the things surrounded you, right. I think hope so you are understanding the concepts involved with all the plant part 2, which is involves with the transpiration and nutrition as well as excretory product of the plant and how the plants are interacted with other organisms, right. And this is how the plants are getting interacted. Thank you very much to everyone watching of this. Thank you.